State Representative and Chairman of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, Ramon Romero Jr. of Fort Worth. Thank you so much, and welcome back to Ion Politics.
Glad to be on, Jack.
So, what is your reaction to the fact that the Texas Dream Act has now come to an end, which enabled students in Texas who are not American citizens to receive in-state tuition at public universities?
Yeah, I think that this was one of the worst acts of cowardice I've ever seen since I've been in office, Jack. I cannot imagine a time like this where the Attorney General and Department of Justice coordinate and collaborate to go around the state of Texas's wishes, the legislature's wishes. We just came out of session. We've seen that while there were bills filed, they were not near the top of the list of priorities for our state. I think that this state still believes in and supports dreamers like those 20,000 students that will now be affected. And I can't think of any other way to say it, Jack. This was cowardice at its worst. I think that Ken Paxton should be ashamed that he did not at least take this before a panel of judges. The way I am here in El Paso, there's three judges, and to think that the court in Wichita Falls, where only one person made a decision and allowed this to happen, is a complete embarrassment for our state. But I stand behind those dreamers. I think that they are the bright spot of our state and our country. People that, despite the circumstances, have figured out a way to rise to the top of their class, and now are in a university. So I'm with them. I hope that there's some legal avenue. Right now, it looks gloomy, I should say. So we're looking for avenues as MALC and MALDEF and other legal institutions, LULAC. So we're going to see what we can do, but we're sure as heck not going to give up on those people. We have not given up on them, for 24 years, and we're going to continue to fight for them.
I was just going to ask you, how big of a surprise was this yesterday when the Trump Justice Department filed this lawsuit against Texas? And what really can you do to challenge this?
Right now, our legal teams are saying that there's not a lot that we can do to challenge this. Clearly, there's people that are lawyers that are putting their heads together and trying to figure out what all can be done. I hope that the brave men and women in D.C. Are doing the same. I'm sure that they are. I would love to believe that some of our senators and Congress people in D.C. that represent the state of Texas can show some strength as well. But look, we might also should be looking at what other states are doing, Jack. Other states are recruiting Texas kids from Texas to Alabama to Mississippi. They're removing in-state tuition or out-of-state tuition and creating just a tuition for all. I think that's the narrative that Republicans have wanted to share, that somehow these kids have been given in-state tuition. No, they are allowed to go to Texas schools, and they bring their money with them. $80 million a year approximately that these students bring by way of their own dollars and scholarships that they bring to Texas schools. This at a time, Jack, when we are seeing enrollment decline at Texas schools. Maybe not at Texas A&M or UT, the flagship schools, but so many of the other schools are seeing enrollment decline. Texas taxpayers are funding those schools. There are what we call hold harmless provisions in our budget to make sure that even if students don't show up, we'll still give you your money. So it's just going to cost more for Texas taxpayers. This is what the Texas legislature and others around the legislature have done. They pulled the wool over Texans' eyes. So don't be fooled. These kids are not being given anything other than an opportunity, and an opportunity that they walk through the door to take advantage of by bringing scholarships with them. So look, we need leadership. I pray that Texas is going to do what other states do. Otherwise, we're going to keep losing kids to other states like Alabama, Mississippi. Lots of folks want to go to Ole Miss now for whatever reason. They want to go to Alabama for the SEC. We need to keep our kids here, and especially our Texas Dreamers.
And I just want to follow up on a point that you made as far as why your legal teams don't think there's much of an avenue to challenge this.
I would say this is as unprecedented as anything that I've ever seen, where an attorney general would just put up his hands and say, I settle. That what they're saying is, okay, we don't see ourselves winning this, so we'll just go ahead and settle in a matter of hours. I believe it was a total of 6 hours. So I understand the procedural moves that this may happen in some business court, where Republicans have even said they shop judges just so that they know they'll get a favorable decision. This was Ken Paxton. This is the Department of Justice and Ken Paxton shopping for a judge that would say, "No problem, I'll let you do this," and do away with a law that was written, created, and signed by the governor here in the state of Texas. So, look, my hands are in the air right now because I don't know exactly what to offer. My jaw is still on the ground because I'm so surprised that something could happen so quickly. It also gives rise to the idea that maybe this was planned for a long period of time. And I feel a little disgusted that maybe some of our leaders in Texas knew this besides Ken Paxton. But look, we fought it on the House floor. We Texans, Democrats, and Republicans believe in Dreamers. We know that they create a really good financial benefit for this state. We're not going to give up on them, Jack. And I know that there's smarter people than I that are looking at all the other legal avenues. I hope that they find one.
I do want to ask you about Senate Bill 8, which passed and is heading to the governor's office, and it would require sheriff's departments across Texas that operate county jails to take part in 287G with ICE in some form or fashion. You voted against it. Why is that?
Look, I think that right now, 287G has always had a chilling effect. We saw what happened in Tarrant County when Sheriff Wayborn initiated it. Immediately between that and SB4, there has been a lack of police engagement with communities of color, specifically in Latino communities. So I know what 287G publicly does. But I can tell you this in terms of the need for 287G. For over two sessions now, we have penalized sheriffs and sheriff's officers if they don't turn someone over to ICE. So we already know that there's coordination in county jails with ICE to ensure that those folks are being checked. We know that sheriffs around our state are not letting people go. We know that through SJR 5, I'm sorry, through SB 5, it is SJR 5, the new bail reform bill. We know that we are holding people that commit those most egregious crimes. So it's already being done. I voted against it, one, because I don't think that it's necessary. Two, because it gives rise to the idea that people can create a model like Sheriff Arpaio did in Maricopa County in Arizona, which allows those officers to go out in the field and act as ICE officers. If all we did was warrant service officer model or jail model, which is what there is in Tarrant County, we would ensure that no person that has a criminal record or has an ICE detainer would leave. That's really all we should do. But this bill allows for a very dangerous task force model that if people want to take that model on, which I hope that the people that are watching your show, Jack, are ensuring that their county does not take on that model. And if they do, just be aware that that is a very dangerous precedent that's already been shown. It's why President Obama did away with it after he brought it on board. And it's not been brought back by any president until Donald Trump said, we want to do this again. So I don't like what can be done, but I also know at the same time that it's not necessary because sheriffs are already doing this across the entire state of Texas.
And you thought that this was, in a sense, Republicans just going along with President Trump's desires.
Well, President Trump issued an executive order saying that he wanted local law enforcement and county law enforcement to work with ICE officials. I know that since Trump's election and his subsequent executive order, many sheriff's offices had already began to partner with the federal government and ICE, and it's their right. It always has been their right. The difference is that it had always been paid for by the local county. For the first time ever, the state of Texas is now going to cover that cost of implementation of that program. This was never in the intent of Congress when it was first brought about, that this would be paid for locally. I'm sorry, that it would be paid for by the feds or by the state. It was always supposed to be paid for on the county level. But Jack, it's just another example of how Texas taxpayers and local Texas taxpayers are now footing the bill for a federal responsibility. All around our state, from the Valley to El Paso to the metro regions, we have seen what have been federal offenses turned into state fines, whether that be through crossing the border and turning it into a felony. And now that local jail is holding that individual. And Texas taxpayers, local counties are footing the bill. That is something that's one of the reasons why people say my taxes are going up. Well, we've got lots of bills, and many of the bills that we're covering are federal responsibilities. Right now, we're currently waiting for a $12 billion, reimbursement to the state of Texas, and that's only the little portion of it that was during the Biden administration. So I mean, this is a sign we are on the fast track of creating more penalties, increasing criminal penalties, mandatory penalties. I mean, we were the leader in lowering the amount of people that were in jails in Texas. We will soon be at the very top of persons incarcerated for federal offenses, and likely many of those are going to be paid for by the locals here in Texas.
And just to your point before about this $11 billion that Governor Abbott has requested to be reimbursed by Congress, you support the Congress reimbursing the state of Texas? And if so, where would you like to see that money spent if it does come back to Texas taxpayers?
Well, I think it should go back to the people that have foot the bill, whether that be local counties along the border that have been forced to hold some of these people for what are now state jail fines, where they were federal offenses, and the feds don't have time to hold them. So I think that would be a really good place to put it. There also is infrastructure need all along the border, Jack. I mean, from roads, roadway infrastructure, from opportunities for manufacturing along the border, so that those communities can have a strong sense, and it's not something that can easily be entered or deviated away from. There's job needs in the valley, right? And so I think that's the first place to look. If we were at war, I think I've said this to you before, Jack. If we were at war, they're calling this some sort of invasion. The first thing we would do is go back and rebuild that area. So why not start with rebuilding the border regions? Those communities are in desperate need of help. The communities that used to flow back and forth. As I sit here in El Paso, I can look at downtown El Paso and see empty building after empty building, because the commercial traffic that used to come from El Paso or from Juarez here isn't occurring anymore. So these communities along the border need help. It's not just militarization, but they need economic help. They need economic support. They need job creation. So if those $12 billion go there, I think it would be it would be well invested.
We will leave it there. State Representative and Chairman of the Mexican American Legislative Caucus, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you as always, Jack.